Hello there, and welcome to our Friday night spiritual insights with Michael Mirdad. Appreciate you joining us. In our relationships, we tend to feel like victims. So I want to talk about feeling like a victim. And I don't want to say being a victim because being means we are. I want to say feeling like a victim. So feeling like a victim. Let's just be brief with this and go historically what it means to be a victim. Please be patient because a lot of us don't really understand what it truly means to feel like a victim. I want to say first and foremost, when somebody says to you, stop acting like a victim, shaming a person for feeling like a victim, shaming a person for feeling anything is just not really helpful. It's not appropriate, but it's not really helpful. Shaming someone for longing for love, shaming someone for feeling sensual, aroused, shaming someone for having a history of hurt, and trauma, shaming someone for wishing they were a different gender, taller, shorter, thinner, fatter. Shaming anybody for anything isn't helpful. So let's not go in that direction. I'm just going to talk about the whole concept of being a victim, feeling like a victim. So, in a nutshell, there's this concept of God, and we're the children of God. So once upon a time there's God, and no children of God. There's God. God then says, it feels so wonderful being a divine being that what I'd like to do now is expand upon myself, make more bliss, make more love, make more God. I'm a creator, so let me create. So God, here, the concept of God is here, but then in God creates something more. It's almost like expanding God. What expanded God? You and I. Our presence expanded the presence of God. So God didn't create us and then say, I'm going to put you over there. There's no there. God is everything that can be. All that can truly be, which is only good. We say, no, there's good and evil. There's up and down. No, that's our concepts in the world of duality. In God, there's no this and that, up and down, male and female. There's just oneness. There's bliss. And that's hard for the human mind/brain to get, but that's how it works. So, there's God, and then within God, we're created. And then we're part of that bliss, and we're kind of digging it. We're enjoying this feeling, the sense of oneness, being the Christ that we are, and so on. And then we say to ourselves, I wonder what it would be like if we could be outside of God. What would it be like if we were not one with God? Now, you can have all possible thoughts. You're a creator and you're made in God's image and you have free will, so you can think any thought. We collectively are thinking everything because we're one at that time. Then when we decided to say, I wonder what it's like to be separate, all thoughts create. So all of a sudden the Big Bang took place. Many of you have heard me say this, but the Big Bang takes place and the universe was created. And then we started wondering, what had we done? We were once one with God, and now all of a sudden there's this big fiery explosion. Like, can you imagine what it would have taken to create the universe? An explosion beyond human comprehension took place. An explosion that is greater than every planet, every star, every nebula, every anything universally. Every plant, every tree. It's in every dimension. The whole thing explodes to reflect what it's like to be separate. And it's not only the energy of every planet, every sun, etc. It's even all the space in between. So this big explosion takes place, and it's terrifying because there's peace of God, and all of a sudden, boom! What did we do? Oh my God, we thought a terrible, unholy thought. We thought, what would it be like to be separate from God? So now we feel so terrible, we say to ourselves, and I wish it were easier to convey this horrible historic event. It's horrible in the sense that it feels like it happened. In reality, God's reality, God didn't experience this. So if we tune into God, this all disappears. If we live connected enough to God, gradually the world that we miscreated fades, and the one that is still God's starts to come back to us. That's what the whole spiritual path is all about. Now, the Big Bang takes place, and we say, oh my God, what have we done? It seems seemingly done, but what have we done? This explosion, everything's blasted apart, and we're starting to think that it was heaven that blew apart. It wasn't heaven, it was actually just an imagination of ours that there was this thing happening. It was just an imagination. We were just imagining this, making believe that this was happening. But it felt real, it explodes, and then we say, this feels so horrible. We loved God, and we just blew God's kingdom apart. We just destroyed everything. It's like, oh my God, what have we done? And so we then said, I don't want to feel this. I'll do anything to not feel this. What can I do to not feel it? I have an idea. I'm not going to take responsibility. I'm going to get rid of this feeling. And we said, we're going to create, not God. We're going to create an opposite of God. God that could bring us home. I don't want to go home. I've destroyed home, and God may not realize it yet, but when God figures out what I've done, it's like when mom and dad get home, oh my God, look what we've done to this place. And we've all kind of had moments, many of us have had moments like that, where we accidentally, broke something or whatever it might be. I remember one time, it was kind of a funny story, home from high school. I would always go home from high school because it was about 20 houses down from the school. So just walk across the street down to my parents' house, And my mom's I would usually go to. I'd go inside and sit down and watch Get Smart. There were double episodes at those in those days. So they would be back to back. That was perfect. So that's my hour lunch. So watch back to back episodes. Sometimes friends would go, hey, let's go over to Michael's, and hang out, because it was close by. So they would bring their sandwiches that their moms put in their little paper bags, and all that. And they'd sit at my table, and I never ate those things. Peanut butter and jelly, it's like, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my God, I would never even a bite. So I would always resort to my mom's pantry. She had great stuff in there. So she had something called boxes of Dream Whip. It was like, she could have just got me cans of Cool Whip, but it was Dream Whip. I had to actually get the stuff in a thing and stir it up, and I would just sit there and spoon. It's like a Cool Whip kind of thing. So that would be my lunch. I would be doing that each day while we're watching Get Smart. My friends would eat their food, and that would be it for the day. So one day we saw that there was a wasp nest getting created up above in my backyard, my patio. So we're like, okay, how are we going to get that? And we're acting all like paranoid boys, we're like, oh man, I don't want to get bit, and everybody's kind of thinking this. So I said, all right, I got an idea. I'm going to spray the nest. Then they're going to go wild and start chasing. You guys time this. Because after I do that, I'm going to run over here by the door, sliding door. I'm going to pick up the nozzle, the hose, and then I'm going to jump inside. And if they're coming after me, I'm going to hit them with water. Okay, but then you guys shut the door. We got it timed. We went over it several times. And long story short, got it, spray them. They went nuts, ran, picked up the nozzle just as I was supposed to, ran inside, got ready to spray them. They shut the door, and I started spraying, and water just wiped out the door, the curtains that were there, everything. And I mean, it was funny as heck. That it was like Three Stooges. It was like comedic because the timing and the wrong and the door shuts. It was just perfectly weird. So we think to ourselves, oh my God, what's going to happen when they get home? So we tried it as best we could, but we never said a word. But we think to ourselves when we've done something really off, what it's going to happen. And you got to imagine, we think of God as huge, and I mean not physically, just powerful beyond comprehension. So when we say to ourselves, we've destroyed heaven, there's this huge force that might be mad at us. That's kind of the psychology of it. Take what you thought your parents might do if they knew you got stoned, you got drunk, you got high, you drove drunk, you got an F on your report card, whatever it happens to be. Just think about it. So do that and then multiply it by what, a trillion or what amount, and that would be how we felt. So we said we got to deal with this. We created the ego to cover our tracks. We said, look, you're now going to be put in control. I'm making you, and now you're in control. You're going to be my out of control general. I'm the president or emperor, but I'm going to basically go into seclusion. I'm going to make you my crazy wizard, my crazy general, kind of go nuts and destroy the kingdom, like many stories and mythologies where it happens. Some bad guy sorcerer, and ruining the kingdom, and the king's just gradually going numb and so on. So that's what happened. We wouldn't take responsibility. Now what happens at that point? I didn't do it. Who did it then? Well, I don't know. Just like guilty children. I don't know. So we didn't take responsibility, but we had already judged ourselves for having done something horrible. So not only did we think separation, we sadly judged ourselves for it. Instead of forgiving, we judged ourselves for it. So now we started feeling guilt and shame, created the ego to cover our tracks, and that all leads to, when we didn't take responsibility, the only route you can take when you don't take responsibility, especially, that means for good things in your life, but also not taking, because the direction we're going today, not taking responsibility for harms that have come to us or that we've caused others. Either way, when we don't take responsibility, what happens is you become a victim. A victim can't exist if someone took responsibility. So the roots of being a victim is not a bad person. It's not a whining person. It's not a weak person. It's not anything that people tell you, lacking to take responsibility or being a victim. It's simply the lacking of taking responsibility. Why would I not take responsibility? Always because I'm afraid. So a person that's a victim doesn't need to be verbally beat up. What they need is love and compassion. They act like victims, and yes, on this earth there's a lot of that, oh, everything hurts me. Oh, I don't want to take care of myself. Oh, I'm sick, but I just want to cough all the time and not do anything about it. I want to complain about my muscle ache, but I won't get it worked on, or I'm allergic to things, but I won't do anything to heal the allergies. So it's better to not bleed out your being a victim onto other people, which is why sometimes I recommend, just be a little tactful about that sort of thing. I don't tell people every little thing going on in my life or, whatever it might be. I just kind of brush it off and keep going, because you're on this planet, things are going to happen. But yes, you take, when you're playing out the victim, you're going to magnify the victim if you bleed it out on others. If you whine a lot, and you're going to turn people off, they're going to get kind of annoyed by hearing you all the time. So I don't recommend that you go out of your way to be that is externally a victim. The roots internally, not taking responsibility. It doesn't matter, stub your toe and go, oh, that stupid curve. Listen to how often people do that. They stub their toe and, oh, that stupid thing, I tripped on that. It didn't even do anything. It's just sitting there. How could it be stupid? How could it be a damned thing? How could it be anything? It just sits there. So being a victim is a form of insanity, and I don't mean that in the extreme psychotic sense, but it's not far from that, because we're starting to dream up that other things have power over us. So the reverse engineering, you could say, is we're on the outside saying, I caught this cold. I got a germ from somebody. Okay, that's externally what it seems like. You're a victim to a germ. This is a germ that you can't even see. And yet you are this creator made in the image of God, and also this, big human being, and a germ that's smaller than anything you can see with your eyes actually is stronger than you. That's, kind of interesting. Remember there was a commercial done. I forget exactly what it was about, but where a guy sees a bug and he goes to spray the bug, and then I think it's a spider, and the spider's arms, even though it's tiny, reach up and grab the guy and start boom, 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 just smashing him against the walls. It's a funny commercial, probably about pesticides or something, but it's funny because that's everybody's fear. You act like this germ can actually control you and hurt you. Be careful, that spider might reach out, grab you, and start smashing you around. Be careful because Jaws might swim into your swimming pool through the drain. People are afraid to get in the water. I mean, it's pretty weird, pretty insane. And, God in its infinite patience sits there thinking, wow, these are beings I created, and they actually conjure up germs, spiders, all kinds of things. And what happens is, because you and I separated from God, we actually think that we're so ashamed, guilty, flawed, that we deserve punishment. So the engineering coming into this is, we thought we separated, etc., etc. Big Bang takes place. We come into this universe. We've created our ego and said, cover our tracks. So we're going to come into this world. We're not going to take responsibility for the separation. I didn't do it. Do any of you remember the moment? I mean, if I asked 100 of you, maybe one. But most people don't remember the separation. It's really out of our memory. You might remember glimpses of it or feelings of it, but really it's too much for the brain, for the mind to reflect on, because it felt so horrible. So even the worst catastrophes on earth that make us kind of go, get squeamish. It's making us squeamish because of what it's reminding us of, which is everything's negative is reminding us of the separation. Deep down, that's what it's connected to. So we did all that. We came in, not responsibility. Instead, now we're victims. We don't remember what happened. All we know is we're here, and it was probably someone else's fault. That's why in the Garden of Eden story, Adam blames Eve. Eve blames the serpent, and that's not responsibility. So basically what happened, they're all victims of each other, and so that's how you and I live. It's like, please don't get the idea that I'm telling you to stop doing any of this, because it's next to impossible to, someone comes up, stick them up, steals your wallet, runs away. The police show up. Are you going to say, well, a funny thing happened. I don't remember doing it, but on some level I manufactured someone coming into my life and taking my wallet, holding me up and all that. Probably some issues of low self-worth, and reflecting, mirroring back to me, etc. I mean, that guy's going to be calling a mental hospital to put you in, because this isn't going to sound right at all. They're going to say, did someone or did they not steal this from you? Well, I guess in the illusion, it looks that way by the human eyes, which are completely deceptive, as all the yogis teach, officer. But who cares about that? The reality is, et cetera, et cetera. It's not going to go well. So again, moving into this, we don't take responsibility. As soon as we don't do that, then we're victims of the ego, each other, nature, the universe, gravity pulled us into this earth plane. Now we're victims of our astrological configurations once we're born. We're victims of our family's genetics. We're then victims of the psychology of development. We're victims of trauma as children, young adults. Then we're victims of our partners that we chose, but of course we didn't choose them. It just happened because it was meant to be, and they snuck in on us. They didn't tell us they were this type of person, that type of person. They made us believe that they were wonderful. We're always innocent victims. And so A Course in Miracles, for example, will say, if you took responsibility, you're going to feel horrible because of the many things that have gone wrong in this world and in the universe and so on. So what we do is not only not take responsibility, there's another stage. We don't take responsibility, but we become victims. And we think, well, if I'm a victim, nobody's going to hold it against me that I have problems. I'm only overweight because of my genetics. I'm only underweight because of my genetics. I've only lost my hair because of family genetics. I have a stutter because my mother had a. I have a this because I'm autistic because everything is because. And I understand that we believe in all that. But everything's got the, and then there's even past life karma. In the illusion, guys, all of this is true. In the illusion, there seems to be these propensities. I'm not denying that. But it's only in the illusion. The illusion will be dispersed. You'll have power over it and all healing, for example, miracle working, if we stop believing that the illusion has power. How? Well, not just because you say, I no longer believe it has power. We have to actually forgive the world that we see so that it's released, and then it begins to bow at its master, which is us. So, pretty amazing the way this works, but not only did we become not taking responsibility, we become victims, because now we're going, God, we left heaven, but maybe God will have sympathy if we're victims. Oh, God, I wish I could come home to you, but, I still have some karmic stuff to work out with my ex or so on. And then there's one more stage further that we fall in terms of spiritual psychology. Not only victims, we became innocent victims. Now, this is important. See, you can kick me and I can kick you back, and you can say, did anybody see that? I'm a victim of him kicking me back. But if I say, did anybody see them kick me first? It would just ruin your case, because they would say, you're not a victim of him kicking. You perpetrated it and it came back to you. So there you go. So we can't just be victims. There's one step further. Innocent victims who don't take responsibility. Take responsibility, you can't be a victim, and you cannot be an innocent victim. In the other way around is we're just pathetic. Poor us. We're not going to take responsibility. We're victims, and now innocent victims. Innocent victims means not only am I a victim of somebody, but nobody remembers how it started. Nobody remembers what caused it, so that way there's no evidence. Now I can say, oh, clearly, especially when you and I did nothing to deserve this. I was a faithful wife for 40 years. I gave my life. I served my children, and now they won't even talk to me. And I'm not making fun of you. I'm saying this is how we do it. And the faithful to my partner and found out they were cheating from day one. And it's true. And it sucks, and it's a drag, and it's hurtful, and it's rude, and it's selfish. I'm with you on all that. That's what it is, factually speaking. But beyond the factual to the deep, deep, deep psychology of this, victims are people that already feel flawed and attract harm. I'm not saying you should be mad at yourself for it. Just practice taking responsibility. And you don't have to go, okay, what did I do wrong? Forget it. You're not going to remember most of the time. All you need to do is go, I know on some level I played a part. Don't know what it is, but I played a part. Just that much is enough. Just owning a part is enough. You don't have to take all responsibility, full responsibility. It's all my fault, and make perpetrators into saints. That would be insane itself. I guess it wasn't them after all. That person raped me. I guess I was asking for it on some level. I guess psychically I must have been saying, boy, I would love somebody to just abuse me like that. That's gross. And I'm not asking you to treat yourself that way. I'm saying more like somebody did something to me, and I'm suggesting that you say something more along the lines of, and as you've heard me say many times, and I refuse to hate them. I'm willing to learn what I can from it and affirm that whoever it was, there's a light in them, God's light, and I release it all. Just that much. The middle one was the tricky one that I'm saying, which is I'm willing to learn what I can learn. So I didn't say, where did it come from? Confirm that you did something wrong and deserved it. What's your karma? Don't do that. Don't make yourself guiltier. Adding guilt in a form of trying to take responsibility is not real. It's not healthy. So what you want to do is just do it more casually, more innocently, more in a sense that we're all playing a part. And I'm willing to own that I have a part somewhere in this. Not a part like bad guilty. A part meaning there's something I can learn from this. And it might be something very linear. I got date raped, and maybe I need to know not to go and get stoned out of my mind in a bar with strangers. That's a linear example and a very, clear, vivid one. It's not always so obvious. Sometimes it's, something like I've never even been to a bar. It's the first time I went and somebody harmed me in some way. It's not like I was doing this all the time and that's my lesson. It's, to cut back on that kind of action. It's more like I've never even done anything like this. So maybe you felt guilty for doing it for the first time. And that puts a signal out there to creepy people to hurt you. So it could be all kinds of things. Just don't dwell on that. Only focus on what can I learn from this. And work with counselors and healers that can help you maybe navigate that a little bit. But if I take responsibility, I'm not a victim. If I'm not a victim, I can't be, with the worst case scenario, an innocent victim. The word innocent victim, I don't mean it like a true innocent in quotes, victim. And the innocent victim is the one that says, no matter what you do, you will not find any responsibility on my part, no lessons that I can learn, none. I was simply a victim, and not only was I a victim, I was an innocent victim. Poor me. It just happened suddenly. It came upon me. My partner left me. I didn't, and I can't even imagine. I was faithful. I was loving. I had dinner ready every night, etc. So I totally caught me off guard. So I'm an innocent victim. Where in fact, you might have had dreams coming to you, telling you that this was happening. You might have had warnings. Your partner might have tried to talk to you about it. You might have been told 2 years before you even met your partner that from a psychic. You might meet someone down the road and it's not going to last. They're going to be deceiving you, etc. There's all kinds of ways you might have known about it. Now, if it were me, honestly, I could say, but I didn't have any advance notice. If I were the type, if I could say that, given something happens and I can say I didn't have conscious notice, I wouldn't even bother saying it, even if I don't have advance notice that I recall. I would just say, but damn, I know me, I know us. We're a little psychic, all of us. We know it comes to us in our dreams. It comes to us in feelings, in hunches, etc. And psychics have told us, and spirit has tried to warn us, etc., etc. And plus the behaviors of the person. We could just tell that they were the type of person, maybe they were ripping us off at the office, this business partner. They might have been taking, we didn't want to know. An example I've shared before in my life, so I'll share it again at the risk of repeating a story, but very briefly. The woman that I was married to from like roughly 1980 to 90, she had dyslexia and all kinds of kind of learning disabilities. And that was partly brought on from traumas as a child. And the thing is, she was supposed to be doing our bookkeeping, and I don't like checkbook and bookkeeping and banking. It's all just, a bit heavy, dense energy. So I had her doing it, and long story short, that she did this for years and years and years. And I mean, she was always, like 90% of the time, mistakes were there. She was adding things up wrong. Dyslexia. She forgot to enter a check. I had to, every month I started having to go through and find them checks she didn't put in there, figure out what they were, deduct, and then know our real total. Hence, like one year there was $1,000 in insufficient funds charges. $1,000, man, that's a lot of whatever it is, $30, $15 charges back in those days. I mean, that's a lot of charges, guys. And I got frustrated, and I'm trying to talk to her about it and say, God, what are you doing? And so, it's like, what are you doing? And the poor thing is like, well, I did my best. I'm sorry, et cetera, et cetera. And then she said, maybe you should do it. And in that moment, I realized I have a choice. And the choice is simple. Have her do it and not complain anymore about the charges, or do it myself. And I realized I have to take responsibility. Clearly on an external level, I'm an innocent victim of her mistakes, and she cost me $1,000 a year. Especially in those days, that would have felt like a heck of a lot of money for many of us. But instead of, I realized, you know what? I'm avoiding doing the bookkeeping. I don't like it and I'm avoiding it. So I put it on her. And certainly it's right for her to pitch in and do some things in the partnership. But she's dyslexic and I knew that. And I'd rather just not have known about it and let her just keep doing it. So my own desire to keep my head in the sand and not do something that I just preferred not doing put her in the position of doing it and didn't want to know the karmic repercussions. I was an innocent victim. No. I participated on some level in that. And I think we kept her doing the books for a while longer and just with less frustration because I accepted that this is okay, that this is what it is. I chose to be comfortable because I dislike more doing bookkeeping than I dislike paying the charges. So one way to learn to take responsibility is to say, do I love this more than that? Do I dislike this more than that? And make it then a conscious choice. But certainly if you say, I don't like this, definitely dislike this more than I dislike this, then you should be making a certain decision because you're clear about what you like and don't like. So, I believe that really helps the mind shift, taking responsibility. It's not easy because we like to bitch about everything and complain and blame everybody. And it's hard not to. If you say, can I borrow your car? And I say, sure. But that street has nails on it. There was a giant nail truck that just turned over. There's nails everywhere. Do not go that way. Go that way. You get in the car and say, okay, and remember, go right. Use the metaphor of go the right way. Right as in the right-mindedness. Righteousness. Right. Get the person really set. Got it? Got it. We're going to go that way. Got it. They get in the car. All the tires are blown. $2,000 later with tires or whatever they cost. It's like, wow. What are you doing? Well, I was driving the car. You said I could borrow. Yeah, I know, but you went left. I thought you told me to go left. What do you mean you thought? I said right. I said righteousness. I said right consciousness. I said right-mindedness. I use right in so many forms. Oh, I thought you said which hand do you write with, and it's my left. And those kinds of moments just make you go, oh, it's going to be frustrating. And you can say, never again will I lend a car. No, if you lend it, you just have to know something like that could happen. It's still frustrating. You love and forgive, but did you learn anything? Yeah, I can still love the person and say, I'm not going to lend my car. I can still love the person and say, I'd prefer you not being the person to choose a movie when we go to a movie because you choose horror movies and I don't like them. You can say no to things. It's just healthy, simple boundaries. But you have to love yourself before you know how to set boundaries. The less you care about yourself, the more harm you're going to put yourself in, consciously or unconsciously. Even if it's inadvertently, you're going to get yourself into harm's way because it's reflecting my lack of love for myself or my total love for myself. What I see on the outside reflects the inside. Again, please hear what I've been saying today. I'm not blaming you for feeling like a victim because we're constantly feeling like it. We're constantly looking like victims, absolutely, in this universe. The ego set up this world that way. And when you say, no, I'm going to refuse to hate, I'm going to learn what I need to learn, and I'm going to see love in others, it really renders the ego impotent with its attempt to throw us off track. Okay? So forgive yourself every time you feel like a victim. Every time you're tempted to feel like a victim, pause and say, in this moment, I'm actually being tested to ask myself whether I am or am not a divine being. You can't be divine and a victim at the same time. So please choose right. Choose holy consciousness. Choose to see yourself as God created you to be. And I thank you for your time today. And remember, I've got a Facebook page, Friends of Michael Mirdad. You can join that group. Please do, if you feel like you'd like to connect with spiritual family, because it's a beautiful group. And we share feedback and questions with each other. It's not one person only. We all kind of post cool things and share things and ask questions and so on. So, and even offer answers. So join us with the Friends of Michael Mirdad, it's called. Friends of Michael Mirdad. And you can watch hundreds of my talks for free on YouTube. I also have DVDs and books and things like that on my website, michaelmirdad.com. So you can find what you're looking for one way or another. Alrighty? God bless you all, and thanks for being with us again. Bye-bye.